Hello and welcome to the Serra High School Football Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Amy.
Very good. Very good. It's hot out there. I saw you guys practicing.
Yep. It's hot, but it's hotter in Concord.
It is. It definitely is. And that's what we're going to be talking about in just a minute.
Yep.
So everybody's going to be wondering how you feel about the game on Saturday. Serra High School played Folsom at home. We got to talk about the freshmen. They did great on Friday night, 47-7. They were crushing it. And then, of course, Saturday at noon, varsity went out against Folsom. Both teams looked great. The final score was 21-14. And if you could talk us through the game, that would be great.
Yeah, we try to take the emotion out of it when we are evaluating the game. And we have a very comprehensive goal and grading process that we go through so we can measure it more. How you feel about things isn't always what's accurate. So how I felt about the game in this situation is exactly how the grades came out.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where sometimes you feel great and you're like, oh man, we weren't really that great. Sometimes you like lose a game or you play terrible. This Padres had an awful day and you're like, whoa, we did a lot of really good things. So analyzing the film and the data for this game matched exactly how I felt. We graded out at a 76%. It's exactly how I felt after the game in the locker room.
Solid C.
Yeah, solid C, like creeping towards a C+. I mean, there was clearly some amazing things, like the opening play.
I was going to say that was beautiful.
That was beautiful. I mean, that was a Coach Bell designed play, and, he has full autonomy over the offense. I read somewhere that, Coach Walsh this was Coach Bell's deal.
And that was the pass from Maui to Latu, and then how many yards would you say?
It was 80.
80, yeah.
Yeah, because the ball was a touchback.
Is Chase Harrison
Charlie
80?
Willie.
Or Charlie Willie, I'm sorry, Charlie.
Charlie Willie, which, fun fact, my younger son is Charlie and my older son is Willie, so I can never forget the guy's name.
I'm never going to forget it now either,
Never.
and no one else will, actually.
Charlie Willie.
Charlie Willie Walsh.
The best name ever. And Charlie Willie, executed. It's a hard thing to do, ton of emotions. First play of the game, you're wide open. It's not like sometimes catching a ball in traffic is easier than, I know everyone's looking at me. I know the ball's sailing to me. I'm wide open.
Right.
A lot of times that ball's dropped. And actually there was a time in 2019, we started the season the same way. And one of the best players in the history of Serra, I won't say it on the podcast, dropped that pass. We went on to win by a lot. It didn't matter.
Don't bring that guy back
But
down.
I was having flashbacks like, oh my God, this is the same exact thing that happened. Charlie hauls it in. We go up 7-0, and it was a great way to start the season. So, clearly the defense had 9 sacks. 9.
Which is pretty crazy, yeah.
And I'm going to ask Mr. Vogel if that's a record. Some of the hitting and the pursuit and the sacks and Colin and Jabari and Danny and just the usual suspects. Falau jumped in there, did a great job on defense. Trimmer, sadly, Chung went down early with a sprained ankle. Trimmer jumped in there. We had planned all week. He was going to get a lot of reps. He went in there, did a great job.
Great.
Obviously Jaden did a great job at corner. Joe Bay was, being Joe Bay. It felt like comprehensively like more like a B- on defense. There were moments of A+, some other moments where it's like, oh, okay, you can get better there. And that's what they graded out at about a B-, solid B, which I would say matches how we played. And then, really up front, I don't think we played very well on offense, on the offensive line, which overall made me feel a little disappointed because I'm mostly responsible for the O-line.
Sure.
We take great pride in it. We'll talk about it later. Some of the linemen who've played here at Serra. And, it was just, there were some great lessons in this game in a win.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't like, we played some freshman team. We played the Folsom Bulldogs and Paul Doherty, Justin Peterson, wonderful friends of mine, wonderful coaches. As I mentioned before, those guys they have a great football program.
And that quarterback too was
amazing. And he the first half he got hit harder than any quarterback I've seen. And he's a sophomore. Fantastic growth you can see from the first half. I called Paul after the game and I said, look, no one likes to lose. He even said there's no moral victories here at Folsom. Which basically is saying there was kind of a moral victory there at Folsom.
Well, they were looking good at the end of the game.
Well, they were.
They had some, they got them some steam, right? I mean,
totally. And when you step on the gas early, sometimes a natural human response is to let down. I was disappointed in that. I made a totally tactical error at the end of the game. It was 21-7. It was 4th and 6 or so, the right hash. We have a great kicker in Gooch.
I was going to mention him.
And we didn't kick it. And we being me, Coach We. I always say, hey, we need to close the gates. We need to order the footballs. We need to clean this. Who's we? Mm-hmm. There is no we. Someone is assigned all those things. So we made a tactical decision to go for it on 4th down, we being me. And I should have, I believe we should have kicked that there. It's a learning lesson for me. Again, a great lesson in a win is better than great lessons in a loss. We kick it. I'm confident we can make that kick. We being Gooch.
He had some amazing kicks. I mean,
he had some great kicks in the end
70
zone.
yards. I mean, he was doing great.
Doing great. So, a lot to learn, a lot to get better from. It felt exactly how, it graded out exactly how I felt in the locker room after the game. While I was happy that we showed resiliency and enough toughness, like I'd like to see us be tougher. Mm-hmm. And no better test of that than the team coming in this weekend. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, it was really your first, look at this team, right? In terms of a real first game.
Yeah.
Last week you talked a lot about just, finding the rhythm and exposing the wounds. And then of course, and what would you say, 1 or 2 wounds that you're going to try to work on this week? Right.
Well, I mean, this game is won and lost up front. On the offensive and defensive lines. And you look at Tommy Brady's 19 in 1 year, 18 in 1, whatever that was. And they lost that game up front in the Super Bowl. There was 4 D linemen for the New York Giants that just, it was a 4-man game and they were covering with 7 and Brady was on the loose, on the run the whole game. And, the game is won and lost, big games, little games, every single game up front. And we have to get better up front, particularly on the offensive line. And we're going to take great care of and doing that this week. They're great kids. We have some talent coming back and some experience that we're going to continue to build on. And we don't scrimmage. And I don't know a lot of people know that, but we choose not to scrimmage. And the cost of that is usually on the offensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. Efficiency. Are you crisp? Have you gelled? 10 people can do something wrong and Jabari Man can run through and make a sack and everything looks great on defense. Mm-hmm. The inverse is not true on offense. 11 people are on the field. 10 people do a great job. 1 person does not do a great job, run a wrong route, guard gets beat, something happens, does a quarterback makes a bad decision, and the whole play is negative.
Right.
So I think we saw that. I write in my journal before each game. I have a journal that I write in. Strongly recommend journaling, by the way. But I write in my journal about the game, like, how do I feel? And then I go back and I can look back to previous years. How was I feeling before this game? To see if there's any patterns that are the same. And I look back on some of the past journals, like, I'm always fearful of this the first game.
Right.
Because there's no dress rehearsal. So when you get out there against a team like Folsom, who's played a scrimmage and a game and has athletic PE, they're doing plays in January. We're not doing any of that stuff. That's the fear. And that those fears, while I knew were possible, actually happened. Mm-hmm. In lieu of all that, we have a great team that got through all of those things and we did enough to be 1-0, so
right.
While winning isn't how we measure it, I mean, the scoreboard is there and we always want more points than the other team.
Definitely. And I think what you said last week too, it's like preseason, that is the dress rehearsal, right? That's what you had said. And so it's good that it was a winning dress rehearsal for the first one. But and then second of all, you should probably that's like a career chronology, your journals. So that's pretty cool. You should publish that one day.
Oh yeah.
You retire. That's going to be
no chance. I mean, it'd be one of those things that's like found in some
you make a lot of enemies.
Well, I mean, I don't have a lock on it or any of that stuff, but it's one of those things that hopefully 100 years after I die is like, oh wow, that's some cool thoughts from an old football coach.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, that actually parlays into what I wanted to talk about next, and that is, you have had such a large and amazing career spanning this is your 23rd season, and you currently have 4 NFL starters that made the 53-person roster on 4 separate teams and this week. And so I kind of wanted to talk about each of them and have a story. I mean, because you hold so much knowledge in, your experiences with these players, and all of your younger players, at Serra High School are always, everyone who doesn't want to be an NFL player. So congratulations to Aesop Winston Jr., class of 2014, who's on the Seahawks, Matt Dickerson, class of 2014 on the Chiefs now. And so they played together. So I want to hear about that as well, right? Neo Mafi, of course, the great Patriot, class of 2018, and David Bakhtiari, class of 09, again, a force on the Packers. Yeah. So if you could just tell us a few stories, I think that our listeners would really like to hear that.
Sure. Well, I feel fortunate to be able to coach kids, now men, who have that sort of talent. And I would say, for the record, each of them had something unique about them. They talk about like a 5-tool player in baseball. Mm-hmm. You can run, you can hit. There's some other things, you can play defense, other things. In football, there's no sport, particularly at the highest level, that is so metrics oriented. So metrics, with the rare exceptions of like Tom Brady was, or Purdy, some of these guys they don't have the metrics like a Javon Curse or Hassan Reddick or even Joey Bosa. Nick Bosa, these guys that are just monsters like that. That's the norm.
Right.
And I would say each of these guys are not the norm, but they had something unique about them, something uniquely special about them that's like eye-popping that has carried them through.
So cool.
Okay. So first, Aesop Winston, unique hands. Anything that was thrown to him was always caught. Shoelaces, one hand out of bounds. I will never forget how great Aesop's hands were. Shifty, great route runner, tough competitor, great personality, super funny. Loved Aesop. He was a great Padre. But in terms of the NFL thing, I think what's made him, he's returning punts, he's returning kicks, he catches the ball.
He had his first touchdown in his first preseason game with the Seahawks this season, right?
I saw that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yep. And he when he played for the Saints, he had some big nights for the Saints as well.
Yeah.
But I believe he's stuck around, number one, for who he is, but because he has unique hands. I don't know if that's still carrying forward. I haven't seen him practice, but I can only imagine that the reason why he's still playing for the beloved Seahawks. I have to root for him now, I guess, sometimes, but it's hard to.
Well, now you do, because he's one of your players.
I know, Aesop, I love you, but oh man, why Seahawks? Why? Just kidding. I'm really looking forward to seeing, people that can watch now, like, wow, watch him catch the football. It's insane.
So cool.
Matt Dickerson, sadly, so here's an interesting thing. He had offers from pretty much everyone in the country prior to his senior year, because he's such a dominant force. Mm-hmm. He was on the track to be probably the best defensive lineman, not only the school's ever seen, but maybe this area or the Bay Area has ever seen.
Wow.
Before his senior year. He came down with this thing called a spondy, which is this weird little crack at the bottom of your spine that's uniquely painful. And the only way for it to heal is to not do anything. So Matt didn't even play his senior year.
Wow.
Didn't even play his senior year.
What a success story then today, right? I mean, that he's out there crushing it.
Right. So a lot of people, I didn't get the stats. If I had more stats, I'd be in the NFL or I would go to college. Well, we have a kid here who didn't even play his senior year. He had 0 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 anything because he didn't even play.
Wow.
Played his junior year and he was phenomenal. But he's also 6-something, you can look it up, and 280 pounds. And his unique skill was his work ethic. Nobody worked like Matt Dickerson. Nobody. I remember just marveling at the amount of sweat on this man after practices. Like, oh my God. He practiced like he weighed 105 pounds. And he was just running around like he was a cross-country runner. But he was playing interior defensive line and just destroying. And here's the craziest thing. This is a fun fact, but miserable fact at the same time. I remember looking at him and the way he's structured, and like we don't get a lot of guys that look like this. He's still playing the NFL.
He's got the metrics that you're referring to.
He's got the metrics. And he's got the work ethic.
Right.
And he's a great person.
And he's a Padre.
And he's a Padre.
I got to throw that in there.
And he's a great student because he was committed to Notre Dame. He was committed to Notre Dame, crazy. Fighting Irish, his entire junior year, his entire senior year. I remember when Coach Kelly came out, it was like the Pope showed up at not the Pope, but the guy at the college school that represents the Pope. Notre Dame came out. The whole school shut down. It was really exciting. And he changed his mind. He ended up going to UCLA.
Wow.
Right. So it was a very interesting time. And there's a whole reason I don't need to get into it for that. But I remember thinking in my head, how does a guy like this get hurt? And I had that thought. I'm like, why did you think that? And then I just kind of put it away. And then now I know. A minuscule little crack in the spine ended his whole senior year. He probably could have played at the end of the year, but I'm like, why are we here? Why are we here? We are here to, if we are who we say we are, we got a guy who's going to Notre Dame / UCLA, a guy who's got close to a 4.0 GPA. He has done everything he could to set himself up for the next step. I'm not playing him. We played in the section championship with ESOP. Right. It was our first win that we've had in 2013. First time we've ever won the open division.
No way.
And just the competitor in me and, kind of the joker in me was like, let's play him the last 2 games of the year. And I'm like, we're not doing that. He's good.
The risk is too great at that point, right?
Yeah, why?
And so they're buddies then, I'm sure. I mean, they played together, right?
And
that's
both
so
in the
cool.
league.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, right? 2014.
Totally.
Talented class.
They had a great junior year together and, sadly, Matt didn't get to play that senior year. And then Neo Mafi, we've talked about him, bragged about him.
Of course, but it's so great to be, just to be on that roster. I mean, he's so young.
I haven't seen the depth chart recently. Is he still? I mean, I know at one point he was tagged to be the starter. I haven't checked recently because I'm worried about Folsom and De La Salle and everybody.
A few other things going on.
Sorry, Neo, but I should be following along a bit better. But I guess we'll find out this weekend. But he, man.
Well, we had his draft party. His family came. It was such a wonderful show of support. He is such a class act. I'm so happy for him. Yeah.
A great student athlete. All these guys were well over 3.8, 3.9, close to 4.0. Neo Mafi, UCLA, great school, great student athlete. And his unique thing is probably a combination. He's not the tallest guy on the planet, but for his size, his footwork is incredible. His combination of just as wide as he is and how much he weighs, but how he can move at that size is unique. I've never seen anything like it before.
It's incredible, yeah.
Okay, and then you got David Bakhtiari, who's been a long-standing NFL. I mean, he if he has a couple more years, I don't know what his plans are, but if he continues on this path, I mean, he could be mentioned to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. I mean, he's blocking for Aaron Rodgers. He's always graded out in the new grading system they have in the NFL. I don't know if it's new, but he's always graded as one of the highest left tackles in the game. He's absolutely spectacular. The way he attacked his trade is, I wouldn't say is his unique asset because his footwork. I'm like, he runs around like he plays wide receiver, DB. He's basically a corner in a 6'4" and 3/4 body. His footwork is as good as any corner out there. I swear to God. I remember his college coach said it, and then the Packers coach said it, and everyone just keeps saying it. And he's kind of rewritten what they need in the NFL to play tackle. The 6'6", 300-pound guy who can't really move. Those guys are, everyone's looking for David Bakhtiari now.
Right.
And because the DNs are so fast. If you're not fast, you can't block these dudes ripping off the edge.
Totally.
So, it's really fun. It's fun to watch the NFL on Sundays now.
Bet.
We're game planning, we're scouting, trying to do our thing, and you pop it on, you see David out there, and it's just kind of like, there's David out there. It's kind of natural. So it's be fun to see Aesop and Neo this year getting it done, and Matt playing for the Chiefs.
Totally.
So play with Patrick Mahomes. Anybody
that gets to do that, right?
Wow.
He's changed that team, sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
So you have a really cool story there. I remember you telling me at one point about David Bakhtiari, though. Like, he did not, didn't he really have the best senior year? But before that, wasn't that kind of his story, that he wasn't on the field as much or something? Exactly,
Amy. That's a great, thank you. He didn't start till his senior year.
That's what you had said. Like, he came back determined after summer of senior year. I remember you mentioning it to me one time.
100%. And it's that this is where I bring this up all the time when we talk to we have our football 101 and our college planning stuff, like patience. Everyone's in such a hurry now. It's like, if I don't have this by this, I'm a failure. It's so not true. I mean, pretty much all these stories, like Matt Dickerson didn't play his senior year at all.
Right.
Neo's started all the time, but he didn't play varsity till his like late junior year. He didn't. I kept him down for as long as possible just so he can mature and be with his friends and that sort of stuff. I mean, there's such a social and spiritual side to this game. Like, I just wish everyone would just slow down.
Right.
Now, if you're a metrics guy and you get 50 offers when you're in 8th grade, good for you. But that's not the norm.
Right.
The norm is this sort of stuff that we're talking about. Where it's like you slow roll it and you develop on your own pace and you have fun in what you're doing and it doesn't turn into a job. You don't burn out. You don't hurt yourself.
Right.
And, that's kind of all these guys had that story. And David Bakhtiari, to your point, he didn't start one game his junior year. And you would think, hey, how does a guy that just made $70 million in the NFL not start his junior? Maybe bad coaching.
No,
maybe.
No.
How does that? He should have started. Bakhtiari would tell you that. But
we'll bring them on next to
he's
give
like,
us stories about you.
Wait a sec, you didn't start me junior year. You're dumb, which is what they say about Michael Jordan's coaches too. But and the story is, that basically I thought he was underachieving, and I told him, like, you're not going to play here if you continue to work like this.
And he had a couple of brothers that were pretty amazing.
Amazing
as well,
brothers.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Amazing brothers. And their work ethic was off the chart. But I knew if he kind of would flip the switch and work like his brothers, the sky's the limit because of his athleticism. And he was always ahead of where he was mentally in his belief system.
Very cool.
So he believed that he was going to be who he is, but he wasn't acting like that as a junior. And then he started acting like it, matched the belief, the footwork, and the whole thing. And now he's headed, in my opinion, Hall of Fame, but I could be biased.
That's awesome. Well, we know he's in the Peninsula Hall of Fame because you were there and watched him be inducted. And that was a couple weeks ago. It was June 22nd or something?
Yeah, that was
weeks,
awesome.
That was months. Gosh, it feels like weeks, but
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I just have to just put a little plug here that we have a lot of current Padres on our varsity team that are currently being recruited and accepting offers, and our PadreFootball.com page will be updated with all of our recent college acceptance or declarations, I guess. Or
Commits. Yeah.
Got the wrong word.
Yeah, so Serra or PadreFootball.com.
Yep.
It's not super public, but it's PadreFootball.com. There's a ton of great resources there, ton of information, all of the records from the
Walsh era
and the history of
Serra.
Serra.
Yep. So
and all the kids resource. that are got offers, commitments, and everything from 2001 till now is listed there, and it's an impressive list. It's
and
great.
We have an impressive list of those signing on December 4th, right? So that's going to be exciting too. We'll talk about that in a future podcast.
Yes.
But right now, let's get down to what everybody's waiting for. And thank you, by the way, for that. Having 4 Padres in the NFL is awesome, and having them all being coached by you is even cooler. So thanks for bringing us down memory lane.
Yeah.
Now let's future forward. De La Salle, your alma mater and your best friends team, and we played them last year. It was a very close game. It was a kick by Judy A that changed our almost. Well, who knows? We won, so that was good. But they are a fierce competitor, and we have our first triple header in a very long time here, starting with freshmen at 9, and then I think JV's at 11:30, and 2:30 for varsity. So, can you tell us how you're feeling? Just kind of bring us up to speed with the Spartan Padre matchup.
Right. Well, I'm going to start with kind of some sad news on my team. In 1992, we had a linebacker named Peter Buck Shea, and Buck was one of my best friends. I've known him since I was 9 years old, and sadly died in a surfing accident.
Oh no!
And we're going to be
Sorry.
Yep, we being the Serra community, because he was in my wedding, and the De La Salle community because he's a Spartan. We're going to be doing a moment of silence, and we're getting a helmet sticker that we're putting on our stickers that says "Live Like Pete." And even though he's Buck to me, Peter Buck Shea, he was Pete in his adult life, but and sadly he passed away, and we had a great ceremony for him. And I told the family at the ceremony that Justin and I have agreed to commit this day to him. And living like Pete is what we're going to see on the football field from two communities, which is youthful exuberance, love of teammate, love of community, love of school, just love of life. And I think we can learn And I went up to his funeral. And I never miss practice. It's been rare that I miss practice, but I missed the first 2 days of practice this year because we were up in Oregon celebrating his life with the Shea family. And it was a beautiful ceremony. It was absolutely fantastic being up there, seeing how this man affected so many lives and sadly passed away at 49. Oh. But living like Pete for us is what I'm hopeful we'll see on Saturday from 2 wonderful faith-based communities.
That's great.
We share in so many values. It's unbelievable. Many of the tenets of what Serra is what I've learned from Coach Ladouceur, what Coach Allenbaugh is doing at De La Salle. Just a historic program that's a life-changing program. Coach Ladouceur, Coach Edson, who's back now, much to our dismay because he's one of the best defensive coaches and special teams coaches. He retired for a while, which was good for us. Now he's back, which is bad for us. But Coach Edson's been around, before me, during me. Now he's back. But I'm talking, obviously 151 game win streak, the history of De La Salle, and the profound impact that program had on my life as a human being is now kind of the tenets of what we do here at Serra. And all of that combined, with a Spartan who is passed and the Spartans who are living and the Padres who are living in a game where, we have 240 kids in our program, and I'm sure they have about the same. So 300 to 400 high school kids get an opportunity to come to West 20th Avenue on a beautiful day, pre-fall here, summer's winding down, having an opportunity to just be kids and to be in a safe environment at Serra High School, safe being faith-based environments where love is at the forefront of everything we do. I just, this is why people sign up to come to Serra.
Right.
Is to play in a game like this, at home, and have a triple header, so I get to watch Charlie and the freshmen play at 9 and just the stands will be full all day long. I'm really excited for it on an emotional and spiritual level. I'm very excited about it on a football level. I'm always nervous for this game. I think we've played it 9 times, maybe 8. I think we're 1-7, 1-6, 1 something. I'd like to forget the other half, portion of that. But there's been some incredible games, some miserable losses at Serra, an ecstatic win last year. All the games are about the same, except there was a few in the early part of 2000s that weren't close for us, sadly. But I'm just anticipating a wonderful day and a very angry, tough, physical, fast football team that is going to come here. And if we're not better than 76%, then we'll have lessons and losses.
Right.
Either way, we're going to learn. No, there's no better mirror than De La Salle High School. Because when you play the game, you're looking at, when you look in the mirror, you're like, ooh, I don't really like that. I think I'm getting a little bit old and wrinkling here. Like there's things that you can look at like, oh, there's some, I like my smile's looking decent right now, whatever. And then there's a lot of things that you would like to change. De La Salle is the mirror, and this is why we scheduled this game. They're the ultimate mirror because they're so well coached. They love each other. They work their asses off in the off season. They lift. They're an all year round program. They're, everything that we've always aspired to be. And we're the top 2 teams in Northern California. I don't know what the rankings are these days, but I can tell you this right now. De La Salle does not like it that we're number 1, and that's the cross we have to bear. Right. So if you're a football fan, I think you should find your way to Serra High School this Saturday and post up.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day. It is really cool that you and Coach Allenbaugh have been friends for so long, and you guys do, like you said, when we had them out here for the first ever, spring showcase, where we, featured them and gave us our time, and that was a really cool showing of kind of coming together in the spirit of football and brotherhood and camaraderie and everything. So that was really cool. So I imagine this game is like kind of bittersweet, as you're so proud of, your past and your connection with De La Salle, but it's a gritty game.
It is.
Can you tell us anything about the team that that we're going up against and what we should be looking for?
Yes. Their quarterback is special. And in most games will be the best athlete on the field, if not one of the best athletes on the field, and that's for sure. He was last week against Orange Lutheran.
What was the score of that game? Do you remember?
35-14.
Okay. So they're coming off a loss.
They're coming off a loss in a game where I know they're not happy with their performance and effort level. And generally speaking, when that happens over there on, I think it's 1130 Winton Avenue in Concord, California, De La Salle High School, the next game is
brutal.
I know what's happening over there right now. They're hitting, they're questioning themselves, they're questioning their toughness, their Spartanness, which the Spartans who are listening know what I'm talking about. And there will be an onslaught of, silver and white coming at us. And hopefully I do my job of building the toughness of our team that I felt was lacking. And it's basically going to be toughness Saturday. It's going to be what football, a clean, hard-hitting, physical football game. And that's what I think we can expect. And the team that is the most physical is going to win the game. And that's the way it's always been. We were slightly more physical than them last year. We moved the ball very well, but they rose up and played championship football and stopped us in the red zone a few times that kept the game close. And then all of a sudden they're up 14. And we showed a ton of resiliency. I thought Malawaki Smith had just an amazing performance. We converted some fourth down plays. Joey Villaroman caught the back of a ball. Marley Alapati sniffed out a throwback screen after the throwback screen. That was before, if the Spartan catches it, it might be a wrap right there, game over. Didn't happen. The next one we picked off, center of the ball. Dylan Judier kicks the ball. Here's the thing about De La Salle. And if you look at any Northern California game, any game that they've lost in Northern California, I'm not counting Orange Lutheran or Bosco or any of those things, it went down to the 48th minute. Gosh. It was like 47 minutes and 30 seconds. When Folsom's got De La Salle, it came to the last minute. When we beat them last year, it came down to the last minute. St. Francis, when they beat them, first Northern California team to beat them and blah, 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 they won on the last play on a seam route.
Yep. So
if we're not mentally tough enough to know that this game's going to go 48 minutes, then we'll have lessons and losses.
Right. And it's an anything can happen type game, it sounds like. So
anything can happen.
Especially based on their past games. So
and I love the mature response to our game last week. I actually found myself in the locker room after the game having to remind the team that we won, which is
That's good.
really good sign.
Right? Yeah.
It's a really good sign. It was like, wait. And I reminded the team that it's so hard to win a high school football game, let alone a top 10 team or 12 team in the state.
Right.
And to enjoy it. But I was also kind of proud of them that they know that we have more to learn from. And it was like I almost didn't have to tell them that. And it was funny in the locker room, just, right after the game, like, guys, enjoy this. Right. It may never happen again. We could be 1-9. I don't know.
Their quarterback looks good, and you've got them on 2 more years for preseason, right?
Totally.
So he will get stronger.
I say this, look, I can't tell you what's going to happen this week. I can tell you what was happening at that moment, and I felt like a lot of despair and disappointment. And you can lose a game after winning a game because you're so disappointed in how you won the game. So even keel mentality, like, hey, you won the game. Now let's not over celebrate. We have a lot to learn from. Hey, we lost the game. Let's not like beat ourselves up and lose twice because we're so disappointed in ourselves. Like, this is the type of long-term thinking that needs to happen in a long season. So we need to just stay even keel. And I felt that we were like too low after the game. So it's like, guys, hey, you beat a really good team. Celebrate. And then you're right. Let's get to work. And that's what we did yesterday. We went through the goals and all that.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, it's going to be a great game. We're always looking forward to this game and all of them, of course. But it's, again, the fun starts 9 a.m. for freshmen, 11:30 for JV, and, of course, the big show at 2:30 with varsity. Tickets are on gofan.com, and you can stream it on NFHS Network for those that can't make it. Otherwise, we're looking forward to a great matchup. Thanks, Coach, for your time and reflecting on all those awesome Padres in the NFL and on the field here at Serra High School. So, go Padres!
Thank you. I feel very fortunate and humbled to be in my third decade here at Serra. It's just been the joy of my life. I mean, I feel like this isn't a profession for me. I look forward to coming here every day because this is what like life's supposed to be like, joy and working through difficult times with teenagers and helping them grow. So, and I feel like this week for me always, there's so much nostalgia of this week. This week isn't about me. I think the first time we did it was, Coach Walsh is coming back to De La Salle, and it was all exciting. And it was like, we lost 62-12. I was like, okay, I'm over that stuff.
Yeah, that's brutal.
This is about my team and our kids and Serra High School and being the best we can be. And that's this week with a little blend of nostalgia, just a tad.
Yep.
But it's all Padres all the time. So let's go.
Well, and of course it will be commemorating your good friend too. So
Thank you.
That'll bring it right back. So,
Thank you. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for your time, Coach.
You're welcome.
Go Padres.
Bye-bye.